Good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, salam. Welcome everybody to MACFEST 2026, to an event that is part of an international festival, but also the Festival of Words and Books. This is the poetry event of the year. And we're saying hello from France, UK, and Denmark. So please don't be shy. Say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're watching us from. And so we welcome you on the event called Celebrating Eid with Multilingual Mushaira and International Poetry, even though the Eid is not until 26th of May. And we've got two wonderful ladies today, our hosts, Becky Swain and Rubina Khan. So we're going to start with Becky Swain. She's going to lead the first half of the session. I'm going to introduce Becky. She's a director of Manchester Poetry Library at Manchester Metropolitan University, where she works with the team and a wide range of partners to co-curate a space that celebrates the power of poetry. Manchester Poetry Library, MPL, opened in 2021 and is the first public poetry library in the UK that is located in a university. Becky is an experienced youth worker, teacher, and coach. She has led national and international programs for artists and teachers with creative partnerships and creativity, culture, and education, and creative writing programs at Avron. Becky is a CLOR Leadership Fellow. Amazing, Becky. I'm a Social CLOR Leadership Fellow. And she's also a Fellow of the Royal Society of the Arts. Welcome to the panel. I will introduce Rubina later in the second half of the session. Over to you, Becky.
Thank you so much, Katasnia. Really lovely to see you and to be part of this event. Rubina and I have chaired this event several times together, and it's always one of our favourite events of the year. It is international, as you say, and we're going to hear four incredible poets over the next hour and a half, and a chance to hear a bit about the context of their work, how to find their books. And I've already been talking to our poets and working out which books we have or haven't got in the library, and I'm already buying them to make sure they're on the shelves at Manchester Poetry Library. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our first reader, Malik Al-Nasir. Malik is an author, filmmaker, performance poet, and an award-winning academic from Liverpool. Malik started tracing his roots back through Caribbean slavery over 20 years ago, and his pioneering research has been recognised by Sir Hilary Beckles, who's the chair of the Commission for Slavery Reparations, by historian David Olusoga, and the University of Manchester, where Malik has just completed a PhD in history with a full scholarship. In recognition of the significance of his research, Malik received several awards whilst at Cambridge, as well as an honorary doctorate from Liverpool Hope University. Malik is co-founder of the policy-making initiative Black Academia, Lifting the Barriers. Malik has produced and appeared in several documentaries with Gil Scott-Heron, The Last Poets, Benjamin Zephaniah, Public Enemy, Ice-T, and so many other luminaries. And we're going to hear from Malik now, who can give us the context of, I think, at least 3 publications, Malik, that you have published yourself and some of your poems. So over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's great to be here today. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, my Muslim brothers and sisters who are tuning in as well. So my journey has been a journey through poetry. Poetry has really been at the core of my life. I had a difficult start in life. I was in care of the local authority from the age of 9 to 18, and I emerged from my care experience semi-literate, having spent most of my childhood working on a farm rather than being in education. And it was only through a chance meeting with the poet and civil rights activist Gil Scott-Heron in 1984 at the Royal Court Theatre in Liverpool that the trajectory of my life changed. And Gil took a shine to me. He took me on the road with his band. I ended up traveling the world with him. I spent 27 years under his guidance and mentorship. And during that time, I became literate through poetry. I compiled a volume of the work from that time. It's called Ordinary Guy. It's published by Forward Press, which is a self-publishing, it's a company I founded. And it was under my former name, Mark T. Watson. I converted to Islam in 1992 and took on the name Malik al-Nasir. So what I'd like to do is just give you a bit of a sense of that journey from a poem in that book, which really talks about the power dynamics between the system and people, and how, as a young child at the age of 9, I was walked into a courtroom, 3 words in loco parentis, 3 Latin words were uttered, and at that point, at the stroke of a pen of the judge, my freedom was taken away from me. The son was taken away from my mother, and I was placed into the care of the local authority, who proceeded to destroy my life. So from the age of 9 to 18, everything went in a downward spiral because of this power dynamic. So I wrote an open letter to power themselves. Dear Power, can you tell me who's responsible for the economic blight that plagues my hometown? See, I've spent half a life asking why the streets run down, where children play, corruption reigns, and broken dreams of wall to wall in council house and racist school. Mother of youth naive and true, she stands faceless on an employment queue. She's low on pharmaceutical dope because you stole her kid, said you'd help her cope. You had all the answers when she signed the sheet. You just borrowed the kids till she was back on her feet. But when she came to take them back, oh, we're terribly sorry, you can't do that. The children ask, what have we done? The system says they're overrun. The social workers on commission. You're on the books, kid. There's no remission. The children striving to be free. The system lying, dreams are dying. Mothers crying, the system's thriving. Cast your vote, politicians say, to ghetto youth, they're all the same. He asks, what have they done for me? It's still the same when I'm 23. I try to work, who'll take me on if I'm from the ghetto? My skin is brown, so I'll move away to where it's at, where they take your soul if that's all you've got. See, there's always a market for a tender soul from a broken home with a dream that's bold. Where they make you up like a living doll, then break you down when you discover what's wrong. Then groom your mane and comfort your pain with false emotion, exploit your devotion. When it burns you out, your heart's ragged and torn, and you're cursing yourself on the day you were born. They just throw you back to the guts as a strike. At the end of the day, hey, it's only your life. So you're back on the streets, but who wants you around? You traded your soul, they say, pound for pound. You're not the same guy you used to be. You're no longer welcome, as you can see. So pack your things, why don't you go? Don't call on people you used to know. So you're back at the start, potential fodder for jail. See, the system's laughing if they make on your bail, because it don't really matter if you win or you lose. The solicitor earns, and the barrister too. Then the judge will decide just how long you'll be used, because the wardens make money, the judge does too. And society is protected from the threat that you pose, and the system will thrive as the industry grows in it. Guys of free enterprise and justice indeed. See, I'm no longer deceived, because I know your power, and I want a reprieve. So that was me expressing my disdain and my confusion with this entity, this amorphous thing that had control over my life, that had power over me, that took away my freedom. And that was a theme which ran right throughout my literary canon, if you like. So having met Gil Scott-Heron, being inspired, travel the world with him, learn poetry, become literate, I went on to graduate from all 3 of Liverpool's universities. And then Gil died in 2011, and I wrote an article in The Guardian called Gil Scott-Heron Saved My Life, because he did. And when I wrote that article, it was published over 4 pages in The Guardian. It went viral. And I was, picked up by a literary agent, and I started to write this book. And this book is called Letters to Gil. And it talks about the 5 years I spent at sea when I was traveling the world, and all the ports I went to, I was writing songs, writing poems, and I used to post them in Letters to Gil. And then when I arrived back on shore, we'd go on tour together, and Gil would kind of mark my work. So it's like a parent-teacher relationship. Teacher-student relationship. But it was also quite like he was like a step-parent to me as well, even though he wasn't family as such. But in this book, I talk about my care experience. I talk about the geopolitical situation and all the places I was going to. across the world, in Africa and Colombia, and you know, Ceausescu's Romania, and before the fall of communism. So there's a whole range of it's kind of like an epic global tale, but told through poetry. It's not like it's interspersed with poems, but it's not a book of poetry. It's a memoir, okay? But it has poems within it to sort of give that essence, if you like, of the significance of how poetry made me literate. And Gil Scott-Heron had written a very famous poem called "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised" in the 1970s, which went on to become a kind of clarion call. It was dubbed on the walls of Palestine. It was played in Tahrir Square during the Arab Spring. You know, it's in Grand Theft Auto if you could play PlayStation. I wanted to do something a bit more up to date, so I wrote a reprise to it, which I called "The Revolution Will Not Be Mobilized." The revolution will not be mobilized until our agenda is being politicized. Our people have become individualized while our dreams of unity are vaporized right before our eyes. How come we couldn't realize that the man took the freedom we exercised and emasculated our brothers through homicides and sexualized our sisters with the Real Housewives just because it was televised? Where is the spirit the king theorized, or the war against oppression Malcolm verbalized, or the unity that Mandela symbolized? Who will feed the world now Live Aid lived and died, no matter how hard they tried? The debts of 23 nations Bono excised, yet still the third world is ostracized. And Joni Mitchell showed how they paved paradise. When are they going to realize, like Mayor Angelo said, and still I rise? Martin Luther King Day was realized when Stevie Wonder and Gil Scott-Heron vocalized. Turning hatred to love was rationalized, but whilst they're on tour, John Lennon dies right before their eyes. WikiLeaks was penalized for telling truth, debunking lies our governments had falsified to twist our minds and blind our eyes so we could never organize. The world right now is terrorized by a narcissist who theorized that through hatred he could realize the power that he did so desire. Though the consequences were dire, hate will never retire till it gets thrown in the fire. The revolution will not be mobilized, politicized, and theorized. The revolution will not be mobilized, politicized, theorized. The revolution will be right before your eyes. The revolution will be live. Sorry, that's a work in progress. I lost it there, the last stanza. But that is a reprise on Gil Scott-Heron's "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." I'm doing all this stuff from memory. I haven't got it written in front of me. So it brings me to my third book, which was something that Gil inspired me to do, but he wasn't involved in. He inspired me to go and find Black history, to understand where I came from so I could understand where I was going. And as a result, I traced my father's lineage back through the plantations of Demerara in British Guyana, present-day Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and I produced this book called Searching for My Slave Roots, and it traces my ancestry back, both the white side and the black side of my ancestry, which is a pretty epic tale of empire, which was published in 2020, August 2025, by HarperCollins. So Searching for My Slave Roots was about trying to reassert my cultural identity in a kind of post-colonial world. And the poem which I wrote, which kind of typifies that, is about being a Black person in this kind of post-colonial world, and not knowing who you are or where you come from, and constantly being told to go back to where you came from without necessarily knowing where that is. So I wrote this poem called Black and Tan. What would you call me if I told you what I am? A human man of black and tan. Black as my heritage, African line, tan as my skin color, starved of sunshine, starved in a world where the sun rarely shines, robbed is my heritage, tanned is my hide every time I rise up and question the thieves that my heritage took, starved of a future, a world without war, starved of a chance to make good by the law. What would you call me if I said to you that you were responsible for all that I do? If I did a murder or drugs or made war, would you give me medals my country adore? Would you give me power to kill and to steal? Would you let me make laws to guard such ideals? I think not somehow, though ironic it is, that you do for you all these things and do with a power you stole from my African line, abused and misused like my people through time, by you and your laws made for keeping us down and tanning our hides because our skin color's brown. I want you to tan enough as my skin, and one day we'll return, back our culture will win. So that's called Black and Tan. So in summary, I came to change entire trajectory of my life as a direct consequence of the intervention of a poet. And poetry became the thread that strung together all of my kind of journeys. And the final sort of stage for me was looking into Gill's mentors, the last poets who emerged at the end of the civil rights era out of what was called the Black Arts Movement in America. And the last poets I met, I worked with, I managed one of the band members, Jalal Nuruddin, may he rest in peace. And he answered a lot of the questions that I had of life that Gill couldn't answer. Gill was politically astute, but he was more spiritual than religious. And it was actually through meeting Jalal and the last poets and questioning him about religion that I actually came to the faith of Islam. And it was Jalal who actually named me Malik. That's how I got the name that I have today. And Jalal and I also had the privilege to go to Mecca together on the Hajj. And, you know, it was very sad that, you know, a few years ago he passed away. But, you know, Jalal was very instrumental in my adopting Islam. And I just want to leave you with this final poem. This is a work in progress. So it's still a little bit rough around the edges, but it kind of charts the story of someone who's, you know, brought up in a society that doesn't want him, treated like you don't belong here, like you're persona non grata, with a history that is you know, sort of shrouded in mystery, and not knowing who you are, why you're here, or why you're being treated in the way you are being treated. And I'll leave you with this one. This is called The Despair of Not Knowing. The despair of not knowing in search for the truth, where every wise man you turn to is dismissive and aloof. A young boy's heart yearns to marshal the knowledge that is, but the old wise ones conceal all the evidence and proof. There is nothing more painful than the grief of despair when a young boy is yearning to understand what's out there, to know his true purpose, the meaning of life, but the old wise ones conspire to conceal the true light. When he questions the priest to establish the facts, he's met with disdain and the priest starts to laugh. So he turns to the teacher in the government schools, but the teacher reports him for breaking the rules. So he asks the old woman while she's feeding the birds, and the old woman says with a twisting of words, "Look to yourself," she says with a grin, and the young boy just sighs because the truth is within. So he travels the world asking questions of those who he meets on the way, and of tales he is told, an alternative version of all he'd been given, more questions than answers. To despair he is driven. But in the questions he asks of the stories of old and the scriptures he reads of the great and the bold, contradictions abound that he can't reconcile, and the old wise ones respond with cunning and guile. So he looks to the earth and the way things align, to the heavens he gazes in search of a sign. With a poet's demeanor he begins to ascribe all the questions he has to their trickery and lies. When society's views are sustained upon lies, and those we depend on and considered as wise are exposed by the truth as deceitful with malice to maintain all their wealth and reside in a palace, then the truth that the young boy sets out to achieve is frustrated at each point by their trickery and greed. But the riddle unravels like the old woman said, and the heart of the young boy reveals to his head all the mysteries of life that the young boy did seek, that those he thought wise were corrupting and weak. And creation's no more a mystery than life is alive, and our purpose is clear that for truth we should strive. So be not deterred by those we think wise, because if the truth be revealed, they're the devil disguised. Now the young boy discovers the true purpose of man as the truth is revealed in the Holy Quran. And that's how I became a Muslim. So that's it from me. And I've put my link tree in the chat. So if anyone wants to reach out to me or look for any of my books, you can reach me there. But I'll be grateful to take any questions.
Oh, Malik, that was a fantastic reading, and also you gave us context of three very different parts of your journey, and those three books, all of them, I want to consume straight away to understand more of your journey. So much of what you talked about seemed to be about how poetry and poets cut through the truth. Cut through to the truth in a time where the media does tell lies. Things are kind of skewed, aren't they? Power and systems restrict freedom. And actually, sometimes I think the media don't get to the heart of things at all. How much do you feel that your poetry is seeking that, to really describe what you see in your own experience?
Well, all the poets that inspired me, like Gil Scott-Heron, the last poets, Lem Sissay, Amir Baraka, you know, Benjamin Zephaniah, Linton Quincy Johnson. These are all people who shared something in common. It was an absolute desire to find and tell the truth. And that's not the objective of a journalist. The journalist's job is to spin a story based on how they decide that there's an angle for that story. They will decide what the angle is. A simple question like, you know, when Kate and William got pregnant, you know, Kate was rubbing her baby bump. There was all these wonderful headlines about how she looks glowing and glorious. And then when Meghan did the same thing, it was like, oh, who does this Meghan think she is? And look at her, she won't let go of her baby bump. And, you know, so what you had there is exactly the same things happening in exactly the same newspapers and being reported on in completely polar opposite ways because of the agenda. The agenda was promote the sort of white pregnant, you know, princess and berate the black pregnant princess. From the same family, same newspaper, the same baby bump. And if you take that as an analogy of how the media is in general, it's all about how the story is spun. And the story is spun according to the editorial agenda, and the editorial agenda is according to who owns that media outlet. So that's effectively takes news into a kind of manufactured kind of realm, like where people are taking an event that's actually happening and then they're twisting it into a narrative that they want to promote, and they're pushing that, you know, the immigrant narrative. You know, immigrants are black and brown, white people are expatriates. They're the same thing. If you go to Australia, an immigrant, you know, so why can't you be called an immigrant? Because the negative connotations attached to immigrants has to apply to black and brown people, not to white people. So that's the difference. Poets is we get straight to the truth. And people said to me, become a journalist, why didn't you become a politician? I don't want to be a politician because I don't want to follow a party line. And I don't want to become a journalist. I don't want to follow an editorial line. I'm a poet because I want to find and tell the truth, and poetry gives me the freedom to do that.
Yeah, and as well as the beauty of your own words, I loved how that respect you give to Gil Scott-Heron and the revolution will not be televised, and in a way saying it's now, it was then, it's now, it's happening around you. Like activism is daily work, and I think I'll be in touch with you because I think members of the Poetry Library who we have a vinyl collection with Gil Scott-Heron. We've got lots of the last poets. I think lots of people don't know about them, and we could open that conversation up and hear some more of your own poetry. So thank you so much for sharing your work with everyone today. I'm sorry we don't have longer, but these Mushairas are about introducing new voices that you then go and find yourself. So seek out those books by Malik. Malik's link tree is in the chat. Thank you so much, Malik, for sharing your journey. And it's a privilege, a real privilege to host.
Thank you so much. And if you want the poetry on vinyl, the album, I've got a double album called Rhythms of the Diaspora, Volumes 1 and 2, which is also out on CD and Spotify and everything. And there's a recording in there. Jalal from The Last Poet wrote a poem about me, which is on that album. And Gil Scott-Heron recorded one of my poems, which is also on that album as well. So Rhythms of the Diaspora by Malik.
Brilliant. So everyone online listening, seek out more of Malik's poems. Thank you so much. It's incredible when we have these Mushairas, and Rubina, I'm sure, will say the same. Everybody's voice is so different, and you kind of want an hour with everybody, but here we are. So thank you so much, Malik. We're going to move on to our second reader, who is Paul Abdul Wadud Sutherland, born in 1947, British-Canadian writer, reverted to Islam in 2004, turning freelance and marrying Afifa Mtuala. He has 22 collections, poems of the life of the Prophet Muhammad, and a selection is on the Cambridge Mosque website if you want to find it. Also Sutherland's new and selected poems, 384 pages, 45 years of writing. Some things come to those who wait. Paul. Published by Valley Press 2017. It was listed by the Poetry Book Society and chosen by the Morning Star as one of their top 10 books. There's so much to say about Paul. Anyway, we'd need an hour. The title reveals the scope of Sutherland's cultural and spiritual perceptions, crossing religious, political, and continental boundaries. Said of one of his books, a unique, unflinching, and forensic exploration of a life through language, and a sequence of love poems that has appeared, Amoretti and Child Roots, which explores the world of children with rare sensibility. You can find Paul's Facebook page, Paul Sutherland's writing, and he's on LinkedIn and Instagram. Servant of the Loving One came out with Beacon Books in 2021, followed by Ramadan Conscience, published by the same press in 2025, describing the author's first 20 years of a revert coming to terms of Islam. You can find all of Paul's books on Amazon. He'll tell us more also about a book he wrote in 2023, The Leopard and the Sea Turtle, and I'll leave it to Paul to tell us more. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful gathering. And all I can say is that Malik's poetry deeply touched me. He's a voice I have to hear again and explore. But thank you for having me here. And I want to begin with a book called Servant of the Loving One. Way back in 2007, I was commissioned by Lincolnshire County Council, where I live, to walk from Lincoln to a little town called Sleaford and write about everything I saw. And one day, as my residency was coming to an end, I saw this scarecrow. And I asked the scarecrow to tell me about the beloved. Now, the beloved can be used as a term in Islam, Christianity, and in Judaism. And that's one of the reasons why I was attracted to the idea. And I'd like to read that as my first poem, The Beloved. I ask a scarecrow to speak, if it can, about the beloved. It turns its straw head and says, beyond what pain is ununderstandable, no further torture exists, not burning bars, but the beloved's arms ready to welcome. Be confused, who's beloved, who's you? Can't separate, then accept. Be bewildered, a holy state, the blessedness that follows grief. The beloved is already approaching to hold you between sense and nonsense. Be empty as my straw legs and head, easily on fire. Give up on reason. Don't fantasize you can outsmart the Eternal One, or keep your individual pursuits. The beloved will use you like a rag to change the world you now despise. What's beyond indiscernible sorrow is love. Sniff it when you see the blank womb bloom, and try not to name it rose or jasmine. Just say you over and over to the beloved. I'm sorry, the word was wall, not womb. We do make these kind of mistakes. I'm dyslexic. All my life I've been struggling to words. I'm not quite in Malik's situation, but I definitely experienced the kind of prejudice against me that I couldn't pronounce properly. And so words have always been hard won. You mentioned the book I was commissioned to write, The Leopard and the Sea Turtle. You can see by the design, this is a design from Sri Lanka. And I was commissioned to write about Sabrina Yusuf, who you could describe as a female humanitarian warrior who went around doing everything she could to help people, even to the point of wearing poor clothes when she was among the poor, and her father was a multi-millionaire, and she used his money to some extent to try to help people. She passed away at the age of 33, bitten by a mosquito, which she was treated for a week, but it was her time to leave. My Sheikh Nazim Alakani, Allah bless his soul. I'm wearing the turban of the Naqshbandi Tariqat. I am a Murid or follower of Sheikh Mohammed Adil Erabani, which is the son of Sheikh Nazim Alakani. And in this poem called In Blue Jeans, I refer to a statement that the Sheikh made, which was, stay on the train, the conductor will kick you off. He made many jokes like that about staying, doing this or doing the other, and he talks about trips and traps of Shaitan. So he would really appreciated some of Malik's poetry and the way, as he described, newspapers falsify information. But here she is in blue jeans. I see you painted door frames in your youth. What does that term mean when you die at 33? Or paradise age, some say. Death could be portrayed as a door, a bit ajar, to slip through onto others, other rooms, a series of chambers, like carriages of a train, winding through mountains, over gorges, Canada, Sri Lanka, India. Sheikh Nazim, Allah bless his soul, said, stay on the train. The conductor will tell you when to get off. When I think of you, Sabrina, I see a woman who stayed committed to her task, her passion and mission to care for others until she made the conductor blush. I do believe that despite the absolute power and authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is possible, like in that poem, for Sabrina to make the conductor blush. And maybe that was a sign that she had done enough and had to leave the world. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I just don't know. This is the first poem I wrote about her, and it's relates to the blue lotus, her flower, and the flower Sri Lanka. Her first name was Marmuna Sabrina Yusuf. And it's a short poem, but it kind of touches what I think so many children must have felt when she brought fresh, clean water to their villages. At first light, the startled beasts around the pond weep for you. The children in dusty villages who have tasted clean water grieve for you. The blue lotus that opens and closes wonders, where's the water carrier gone? The last poem I want to read is in my collection, Poems on the Life of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sabrina's father, Yusuf, commissioned me to write this book, but he also wanted me to bring in some of those poems. And this is my last poem I'm going to read. It's about the pilgrimage to the house, Hajj. And in a hadith of Muhammad, he says, gently, gently, in quietness of soul, and let the strong among you have a care for the weak. This was his adab for Hajj. And I'm speaking directly to Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Your pilgrimage is not a journey to a particular place at a particular time, though it is that. But it is a state of being where the mind must spend its night hours in the desert under the radiant moon, if we are lucky, and where before the peaceful, since nothing can be harmed, stand on the mount of mercy and supplication, remembering Ibrahim's legacy, remembering Adam's. All must be connected and renewed, the ancient and the immediate embrace through the prescribed ritual. And you, friend of the compassionate, led your people on your farewell pilgrimage, giving a last example of manners, the purpose of Iran, of procedures. But how I wish to know what was in your heart at each point of praise when you lifted your hands in reverence or selected the pebbles to stone Shaitan. What shook you when you stood, gave your short address on the Mount of Mercy, thousands listening? What trembled through you at the last revelation? All is too gentle to know. In the journey, the generalness slips off to an intimacy. The pilgrim steps into that silence again and again in a gathering of the countless and yet tenderly alone. There too, in the state of purity, comes the moment to help others in greater need, wherever or whomever Allah reveals, as though this sacred undertaking was a symbol of another Hajj, whose measuring footsteps are over a lifetime at least. Blessed are those who walk in that way with you. If their feet ache or cannot walk, but move from a gentleness to a deeper gentleness, from caring to a more caring, from being kind to a higher kindness, from a love imaginable to a love unimaginable. Blessed are those who step with you, honored path of Allah, Muhammad, blessings and peace be upon you. Cherish those who step through the veils of birth and of death with you. Without fear, they come to the house without grieving. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. It feels like we need a gentle moment of pause after each of your poems. The rhythm is so beautiful, and you're talking about a woman in Sabrina. You described as a humanitarian warrior in such, peaceful, natural ways. It's very difficult to describe somebody who's so caring, isn't it? How did you first come across Sabrina as a human? What happened?
In Ramadan 2023, her father, Yusuf, Hanif Yusuf, sent me an email asking me to write a book about her.
Mm.
And he said he wanted to select poems out of the poems of the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and other my collections, but he also wanted me to write, as it were, barefaced about her, who I've never met. But I did ask some of my Sufi friends, and they said she is your soul sister, and that was kind of an opening to write about her. And we have the photographs that she left, photograph of her touching a sea turtle, and a photograph that she took of a leopard, which are two very significant animals on Sri Lanka, one endangered and the other a strong resident, the leopard. And I saw in those images her strength and her vulnerability. You can't really care for people without both. And she was a perfect expression of that.
So it's a memorial, it feels like, to her,
yes.
as well as a creative work.
Yes.
Do you think your writing about Sabrina will finish in this book, or do you feel there's more that might come? I was going to ask you about your next project, but it feels as though this is such a rich one.
Well, there's a shadow book. Poems that aren't in this that I wrote, but they haven't yet come to fruition. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm working on various things. I'm like a juggler who has too many batons flying around. One of them is Tennyson. I'm very interested in Tennyson, Alfred Lord Tennyson, the poet laureate of England, who had time in Lincolnshire. A little collection of mine's coming out later in the summer. Poems I wrote about him. I'm, as you know, I was involved. Perhaps you don't know, but I was involved in Ramadan at Cambridge Muslim College, and giving talks about different aspects of Ramadan and reciting my poetry there. We got events coming up in the summer in Lincolnshire, and I'm going to participate in some of them, especially on the theme of war and faith and a changing climate, the changing climate, or much more severely, how we are harming the earth by our indiscretions.
There's a lot isn't there, about human care and also nature, with the Blue Lotus and the title actually of the work, but also your earlier poems. Paul, it's been lovely to hear just a tiny morsel of your writing. I know that your books are available online. If you search for The Leopard and the Sea Turtle, you can buy.
Well, that's only available through me as a hard copy. Or Kitaabun, Kitaabun, virtual bookshop. They have it, and there's an Kindle version on Amazon.
Thank you, and I know your other books are also on Amazon too. And Paul, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a privilege to hear about Sabrina, but also to know, when I gave your introduction, how many books you've written. We can search for others. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to pass on to my co-host, who is actually going to be introduced first by Katarzyna, who knows Rubina well too. I just wanted to say that in the second half, we will hear some poetry in translation in other languages. And as a director of a poetry library, I just wanted to say that there are English books, but we also have a very big multilingual collection. And if you search for Manchester Poetry Library online, you can see how represented different languages are. And if we don't have your language, tell us, come and tell us. But with that in mind, and the beauty of this being an international Mushaira, I'm going to pass back to Katarzyna.
Thank you so much, Becky, for holding the space. We've got such an amazing selection of poets today. So moving, so gifted. Thank you so much, Paul and Malik. And I'm just going to introduce our second host for today, Rubina Khan. She's a seasoned media professional with over 2 decades of experience, a passionate poet and committed anthropologist. She believes in the power of dialogue to uncover the true essence of truth. Rubina is a dedicated advocate for the promotion of her native language through Mushaira, which means poetic symposiums, and through cultural engagement. outside her professional life, she is an avid reader and actively pursues a healthy lifestyles through gym, workouts, swimming, and wellness advocacy. I would also like to mention that Rubina has launched an organization called, sorry about this, DLitt. I think I spelled it correctly,
Yeah.
where meaningful events, discussions, and dialogues are organized on different topics, giving people a platform to present and share their thoughts and perspectives. And Rubina, we would like to know more about this project. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Katarzyna, for a lovely introduction. And before I jump into the second session, can I say thank you, a huge thank you to our lovely, sweet, sophisticated, spontaneous, and knowledgeable Becky. So, thank you so much. That was a fantastic first hour of this event. Thank you so much, Katarzyna, and thank you so much, Becky. And now, officially, I'm starting the second session of today's multilingual Mushaira. So, good evening to everyone, and welcome to Eid celebration with multilingual Mushaira organized by MACFEST. And you know, Kesra Shiraz is founder and executive director of MACFEST. She's a novelist, educationist, peace, culture, and gender champion. So I would like to sincerely thank Kesra for giving me this opportunity to host a wonderful, wonderful multilingual mushaira. It has been my privilege to be a part of this tradition for the past couple of years, and it is always a joy to bring poets and poetry lovers together from different languages and culture. So, without further ado, as is the tradition of Mushara, I would like to begin by presenting my own poetry, and it is in Urdu. I will translate it for my English and other, language listeners and attendees. So I'll start with the first poem. It says दोहरी जिंदगी. So पहले traditionally we say अर्ज किया है, and the title of my poem is दोहरी जिंदगी, mean layered life. So दो घड़ी की बात थी, दो घड़ी की बात थी, तुमसे कही न जा सकी, और बहुत हसीन थी दास्तां जो लिखी न जा सकी, और वक्त को न दोष दो, हम में ही कमी सी थी, और फासलों के दरमियां कुर्बतों की कमी न थी, और आओ फैसला कर लें किसको कितनी चाहत थी, चंद लम्हे ठहर गए थे और जिंदगी में ढल गए थे, एक जिंदगी के बीच एक और जिंदगी रही, दैट मीन्स लेयर्स, दैट एक जिंदगी के बीच एक और जिंदगी रही, द लाइफ वी वर लीडिंग is apparently a life, but there are so many things going inside the mind and in so many things. So एक जिंदगी के बीच एक और जिंदगी रही, हंसी रही जवा रही, that hidden like side of one's life is the one which he likes or which is remembered by him or her. So एक और जिंदगी रही, हंसी रही जवा रही, सभी से पर निहार रही, that is not visible to anybody, the life which one person leads in his mind or in his thoughts. So that's why it's layered life. The title of my poems is. The last is तुम ना कह सके तो फिर जिंदगी बदल गई. The meaning of whole of this poem is that sometimes we live a layered life where we have something in our mind and in our thoughts, and sometimes whatever we say or present, like what we are, is different in a meaning that we just hide the things which are no not anymore useful for anybody. So there is always, maybe it happens with everybody, But the basic of this poem or main thought is that someone was supposed to say something, but when he didn't say, then life changed altogether. Then it is like what it is now. And the last verse says it all. तुम न कह सके तो फिर जिंदगी बदल गई. So that is one poem. And I will recite another poem, or I can't hear anybody, but the tradition of Mushaira is that people appreciate that, poet just feel like, oh, he's reading something which people are like, like liking. But since it's a Zoom Mushaira, so we can't say, I think it's not possible. So I'm reading a very fresh poem, which is as fresh as its ink is still wet. I mean, it's very fresh. But this is something, I'll read it and then I'll explain it. Okay? Thank you. So, इस कदर तोड़ दिया है खुद को. I have broken myself that much. कोई तो पूछे कि हाल कैसा है. But if nobody is paying attention to someone, then someone pretend that they need sympathy or they need to be asked, how are they? So first जो verse है, it says like, इस कदर तोड़ दिया है खुद को, कोई तो पूछे कि हाल कैसा है. और एक जरा सी गुफ्तगू के लिए एक लंबा सफर किया मैंने, और लम्हा भर उसको देखने के लिए मुंतजिर आंख को रखा मैंने. I have to see a glimpse of that person, but for that glimpse of that, just that glimpse, I have to ready myself all the time, alert myself all the time, so that I don't know when that moment will appear and I'll see him. So my eyes are awaiting for that moment. लम्हा भर उसको देखने के लिए मुंतजिर आंख को रखा मैंने, और देख लो जिंदगी के मेले में, देख लो जिंदगी के मेले में, जब कोई बिछड़ गया फिर उम्र भर नहीं मिला. Life is like a like such festival where so many people are there, and sometimes you like somebody and you have a companionship of somebody, but then there are so many people, and that in that crowd, if somebody just depart from you, that's lost for life. So देख लो जिंदगी के मेले में, जब कोई बिछड़ गया फिर उम्र भर नहीं मिला. But if somebody depart, it doesn't mean that that somebody is gone forever. And then thoughts and mind come in place, and there is a place where that person reside. It says in this lyric, ये अलग बात कोई साथ साथ रहता है. ये अलग बात, even someone has departed, but that's a separate thing, that ये अलग बात के कोई साथ साथ रहता है, वो ख्वाबे मुसलसल है और सच की तरह जिंदा है. ख्वाबे मुसलसल mean that it's a continuous dream, and like such never dies, even in the dream, even in the reality, वो always जिंदा है, मीन अलाइव है. ये अलग बात कोई साथ साथ रहता है, वो ख्वाबे मुसलसल है और सच की तरह जिंदा है. I will just I'll see the time as well. So yes, I'll read out one more. It's like more of a ghazal, and then I will invite my next poet. So ये कयास है, ये कयास है या आस है. Mean, are we just judging, or it's a like kind of hope? ये कयास है या आस है, कोई दिल के आस पास है. Sometimes you think so strongly that you think that you're thinking about a person is somewhere near in the space where you are present. So ये कयास है या आस है, कोई दिल के आस पास है, चलो एक बात तो तय हुई, ये दिल कदर शनास है. क्यों सख्त जान है ये दिल, इसे हिजरो फराक रास है क्यों सख्त. That's what I like it about this verse, that क्यों सख्त जान है ये दिल इसे हिजरो फराक रास है. That means that uh, and you know, when you depart, or you have a long departation, or you don't see anybody for a long time, but still you alive, you still make that person in your life that much that your life doesn't look like change because you don't feel it. So that's the main thing. क्यों सख्त जान है ये दिल, that this heart is so strong and hard, and it's resilient, that it doesn't affect by any hijr. Hijr mean uh, a person whom you don't meet. So you have always a distance with that person, but you are so close emotionally or mentally that you don't feel like that you are away. सो क्यों सख्त जान है ये दिल इसे हिजरो फराक रास है, और जो कभी बुझ ना पाएगी जिंदगी वो प्यास है. जो कभी बुझ ना पाएगी जिंदगी वो प्यास है. That in this life we are never ever fulfilled or satisfied. If you have one thing, we go for another thing. So that's the beauty of life as well, in a way. And pyas mean that you are thirsty. Thirst of having more and more in a good way is like positive thing. So that's the beauty of life, that if you get something done or achieved, it doesn't mean that your life is finished. Life is so beautiful. There is so many things. There are so many things that you have to know about them. So जो कभी न बुझ पाएगी जिंदगी वो प्यास है, और जो ख्याल बनकर गुजर गया, जो ख्याल बनकर गुजर गया, वो रुत वो वक्त खास है. That is very important to me as well. And maybe somebody, if they just think that in your life sometime you just feel something very strongly, even a blink of eye, even a smell of something which remains in your mind, in your thought, you never forget that time, that moment, you never forget. So जो ख्याल बनकर गुजर गया, even that is a thought, but you remember the thought, you remember your loved one, you remember the people who who passed away from your life, like they've gone to other world, like that. But Joe, you don't forget them. And that's another kindness of our mind, that it doesn't just vanish everything which is past, it is still with you. So that's the main, I think, point of my poetry, that we can't have everything in our life, but still we we have thoughts of that thing. So जो ख्याल बनकर गुजर गया, वो रुत वो वक्त खास है, एक नाम से खुशबू का दर खुल गया, हकीकत है या वक्त एहसास है. So it says the same, like point. And when, Paul was saying the shadow book is coming, and I was thinking in poet's life as well. We will discuss this next in our discussion minutes, if we will have some time remain in our today's event. So yeah, we just have a shadow ideas as well. That's how poetry works. That's how you write something. So I'm just, I think, translating too much, and the main reason is that everybody can understand. And Becky, if she's there, Katarzyna, and even Kesra, and Paul, and I think Sadaf can understand. But for other people, I'm just, like translating word by word, not word by, but the idea. But before I go and introduce next our very, very, very respected poet, one thing, because, Paul and Malik, our two very special guests, have converted to Islam. And I have written something, and I will dedicate this to them. And maybe I'll translate it as not just Muslim, not just anybody. everybody explore anything in one's life, and I explore, even I'm a Muslim, but I was exploring what is God, how is, this universe came into being, and that is a journey in everybody's life. So here it goes, like, I will read out this it's a poem, and then I will tell the meaning of it. So नए सफर पर निकल पड़ी हूँ, हैरतें मेरी ज़ादे राह हैं। नए सफर पर निकल पड़ी हूँ, हैरतें मेरी ज़ादे राह हैं। दिल गिरफ्ता बदन दरीदा लाल आंखें, मैं आसमां भी जमीन भी हूँ, समंदरों की अमीन भी हूँ, मैं आग भी हूँ खाक भी हूँ, बुलंद बाला और पस्त भी हूँ, कहीं फूल हूँ कहीं खार हूँ, होश भी और खुमार में भी, बादलों में तैरती नमी हूँ मैं, पत्थरों पे खाक सी जमी हूँ मैं कुन फयकुन के अमल से गुजरी, हजार खानों में बट गई हूँ, मैं कुन फयकुन के अमल से गुजरी, हजार खानों में बट गई हूँ, जिंदगी के खेल में रक्स करती हूँ, झूमती हूँ, और खामोशियों में भी गूंजती हूँ। बेसिम्त गुजर रही थी जब, तो जिंदगी मर रही थी तब, मैं रास्तों के पेचो खम में एक मंजिल को ढूंढती हूँ, मैं रास्तों के पेचो खम में एक मंजिल को ढूंढती हूँ, पता बता दे या मिटा दे, निशान हस्ती वजूद हस्ती। And the why I dedicated it to Abdul Malik and Paul Wadud, Abdul Wadud Sahab. The reason is that in this poem I had just explained, I have started my new journey, and in the and I'm surprised what this life is. Even this life surprised everybody so much. So I'm just thinking what I am. I am like a fire, I am mud, I am hot, I am cold, and I'm everywhere. And God created this world by saying kun fayakun. And when He said this word, so I'm divided in different boxes, and I need to know which box I really belong to. So this is like kind of you can say that it's a like just to look at the universe and think what it is. So I think it's enough from me. And now I'm going to invite my another poet, and I'll let you know a little bit about her. Sadaf Mirza, born in Pakistan, is a poet, writer, translator, and journalist. She holds an MA and BA from the University of Punjab, and has been in Copenhagen, Denmark for the past 30 years. She worked in education in Denmark for nearly a decade and is now fully engaged in writing and research. Her PhD research at the University of East Anglia focuses on languages, culture, and the derogation of women in proverbs. She has published across Urdu, Punjabi, English, and Danish, and has been active in media as well. She is associated with many, many organizations as well. And now I will invite you to grace this Mushaira, Sadaf, with beautiful expression of Punjabi language and culture. Here you go. Over to you, Sadaf. Over to you, Sadaf.
She's mute. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you
Sadaf.
very much.
Welcome. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum to everybody.
Oh,
And let me start with thank you, all of you, for letting me give this great opportunity to be a part of this and to participate and a chance to hear and to listen to these so many great voices today with Mr. Abdul Malik, Mr. Paul, and your poetry, Ravina, you took, so mesmerizing. the last one with the water and all those, like Rumi, it reminded me the great poet of Rumi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I don't know about time. I just start with Punjabi poetry. And okay, aapki ijazat se, with your permission.
All yours, all yours.
Okay, I start with a very small poem about my mother. So I will just recite it in Punjabi first, and then the translation, which I did it myself. Okay, this is Meri maa mere haase di sat rangi reshmi chunni phadke. Meri maa ਮੇਰੇ ਹਾਸੇ ਦੀ ਸਤ ਰੰਗੀ ਰੇਸ਼ਮੀ ਚੁੰਨੀ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਕੰਨੀ ਫੜ ਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੀ ਸੀ ਸਾਰੀ ਚਾਦਰ ਗਿੱਲੀ ਹੈ. And the translation is, my mother, by holding the corner of a 7-colored silken shawl of my laughter, could read the whole hidden story, and she could tell that the whole shawl is wet. And the other poem, this is about the division of a house, metaphorically, but this is the division of word, the division of geographically and culturally, and with the religion and all those things that divide our feelings and our passions and even our the feelings and sympathy about the other people. And with no late, I just start. This is one Vandara. Division. ਵੇੜੇ ਦੀ ਧੁੱਪ ਵੰਡਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਕੋਠੇ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਚਾਨਣ ਵੰਡਣ. ਵੇੜੇ ਦੀ ਧੁੱਪ ਵੰਡਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਕੋਠੇ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਚਾਨਣ ਵੰਡਣ, ਸ਼ੀਰ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਤਾਸੀਰ ਵੀ ਵੰਡਣ, ਖੂਨ ਦੀ ਸੂਹੀ ਲਕੀਰ ਵੀ ਵੰਡਣ, ਸੁਪਨੇ ਦੀ ਜਾਗੀਰ ਵੀ ਵੰਡਣ. ਵੇੜੇ ਦੀ ਵਸਦੀ ਹਸਦੀ ਹਿੱਕ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਅਡੀਆਂ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ, ਆਪਣੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਵਲਗਣ ਵੱਲ ਕੇ, ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵੇੜੇ ਖਲ ਕੇ, ਨਵੇਂ ਸੁਨੇਹੇ ਕੱਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਮੱਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ. ਨਵੇਂ ਸੁਨੇਹੇ ਕੱਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਮੱਲਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਤਰਸ ਜਾਵਣਗੇ ਧੁੱਪ ਦੀ ਪੀਲੀ ਛਾਂ ਦੀ ਛਬ ਨੂੰ. ਧੁੱਪ ਦੀ ਪੀਲੀ ਛਾਂ ਦੀ ਛਪ ਨੂੰ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਭਰ ਕੇ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਵਣਗੇ, ਚਾਨਣ ਦੀ ਚਿੱਟੀ ਚਾਦਰ ਤੇ ਮੋਤੀਆਂ ਵਰਗੇ ਨੂਰ ਦੇ ਅੱਖਰ, ਸਰਗੀ ਦੇ ਤਾਰੇ ਦੀਆਂ ਟੋਰਾਂ, ਜਾਦੂ ਫੂਕਦੀ ਕਾਲੀ ਸ਼ਬ ਨੂੰ, ਕਾਲੀ ਸ਼ਬ ਦੇ ਖਾਲਕ ਰੱਬ ਨੂੰ. ਲੋਭ ਦੇ ਟੁੰਡ ਮੁੰਡ ਰੁੱਖਾਂ ਥੱਲੇ, ਲੋਭ ਦੇ ਟੁੰਡ ਮੁੰਡ ਰੁੱਖਾਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਵੰਡ ਵੰਡਾਰਾ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ ਕਰਦਿਆਂ, ਜਿਉਂਦਿਆਂ ਜਿਉਂਦਿਆਂ, ਮਰਦਿਆਂ ਮਰਦਿਆਂ, ਪਰਛਾਵੇਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਨੱਸਦਿਆਂ ਨੱਸਦਿਆਂ, ਤੇਰੀਆਂ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਦੱਸਦਿਆਂ ਦੱਸਦਿਆਂ, ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੰਡ ਵੀ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ. ਦਿਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੰਡ ਵੀ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਦਿਲ ਦਾ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਲੈ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ. Thank you. And the translation is, those who once used to share the sunlight of the courtyard, now, if they can, let them try to divide even the glow of the moonlight of their rooftops. In the lively laughing courtyard, each one standing with their own feet upon the walls of the shared heart, clinging only to their own paths, and turning back into their own enclosures, each one shutting their own courtyard upon and closing everything around them. Those who send new messages, those who claim only their own shares. One day they will long for it, the soft yellow shade of sunlight. One day, with sigh, they will forget the pearl-like luminous words written on the white sheet of moonlight, the milk-like glow of moonlight, the path of morning star in the sky. The dark night that once cast its spell and magic, and the creator of that dark night. Under the shade of barren trees of greed, in the endless act of division, alive and not yet breathing, dying while still living, chasing their shadows, repeating the stories of yours and mine, the heart too begins to split and loses everything it once held. Thank you. And one like this was the poem, and one short ghazal that is based on 2 lines, and it always tells the different different topics. It doesn't follow the one topic. So this is Sanu ਨਜ਼ਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਰਫ਼ ਨੇ ਸਾੜ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਜ਼ਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਰਫ਼ ਨੇ ਸਾੜ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗਲ ਦਾ ਖੰਜਰ ਮਾਰ ਗਿਆ I was burned by the ice in your eyes and I was dyed by the dagger of your voice, the way you spoke to me. ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਜ਼ਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਰਫ਼ ਨੇ ਸਾੜ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਗਲ ਦਾ ਖੰਜਰ ਮਾਰ ਗਿਆ ਅਸਾਂ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਸੀ ਕੰਧ ਚਾੜੀ ਕੋਈ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਹੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਮਾਰ ਗਿਆ I tried to erect the walls outside me but somebody killed me inside ਅਸਾਂ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਸੀ ਕੰਧ ਚਾੜੀ ਕੋਈ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਹੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਮਾਰ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਾ ਆਈ ਦੁਆ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਾ ਆਈ ਦੁਆ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਾਏ ਮੁਕੱਦਰ ਮਾਰ ਗਿਆ And this is my mom. Although you prayed for me, but nothing helped me because the destiny that ruined everything around us. And the last verse is that Sade khun de phul masita vich. Sade khun de phul masita vich sanu garja mandar mar gaya. And my blood, the flowers of our blood, they are scattered in the mosques. Because we were killed by the church, by the Gurdwara, and by the temples. This was the Punjabi ghazal. And then Kesra, thank you very much once again for giving me such a brilliant opportunity. I bless my stars. And one Danish poem that is also like Rubina ji, she said that ink is not dried even. This is fresh. So I'm just going to recite a Danish poem. Yeah, that is the green hopes. Inte that will ige via explosiona. Inte that ige will via explosiona. Ingen storm evel. Ingen upåt fäktel. Gestel in nyfött barn penna. Ingen avsystemer itias ontrouw, ingen uzet volkemt itias naun, og ingen kamel så itias ankom på itias første råd. Jeg drømmer an en bløddagsrød, hvor børnene kommer som morgenlys. Betydning usenfrygt. Og bæren kun det stille grønne løfte om at blive. Og verden udsmittet af deres egen brændinger, vil egentlig give slip på ilden og lære næsten som en bøn at vælge ømhed frem for ødelæggelse. Og det er bare, and thank you. And just a quick translation. This is, one day, there will be no explosions. I dream. One day there will be no explosions, no storms of anger, and no eruption of fear etched on the forehead of newborn babies. I dream, not inherited trembling of their breaths, no unseen violence waiting in their names, and no old wounds arriving before their first cry. I dream. I dream of a softer dawn where children come like morning light, unmarked, unfeared, unafraid, and carrying only the quiet green promise of becoming. And the world, exhausted from its own burning, will finally loosen its grip on fire and learn almost like a prayer to choose tenderness over ruin. Thank you very much for your time and for the chance giving me.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing so much nice thoughts in Punjabi and then translation. And Danish poetry was obviously, that topic is so, like relevant. There's so much relevant. And now I need to ask that can we have a little discussion because we have a little time, or if you want, if you want to decide anything else, that will be fine. Like if Paul is there, so we can have a discussion together, and with Becky, me, and you, and then Kesra, and obviously everybody can join. But I don't know whether Paul is still here or he is gone.
I can't see Paul at the moment, but I would like to mention very quickly that we have put in the chat the links from Malik, the links to his book. So Please scroll up if you're interested.
Yes.
And if you do have any thoughts you'd like to share or you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We did have a couple of lovely comments about the powerful poetry by Sadaf. So thank you very
Okay.
much. Over to you, Rubina.
All right. Thank you so much, Karzina. Or Sadaf, if I just ask you a little bit your journey of writing poetry and, writing in different languages. How is the experience? How do you select which, topic to write in which language? How do you, tackle with these things?
Oh, Rubina, you are so professional and highly academic. I think so beautiful question. Thank
Oh,
you very
thank
much.
you.
I think that I was more fortunate than I struggled because I was born in a family with different languages.
Yeah.
And I just want to share about my uncle, Professor Sharif Mirza. He
Mm-hmm.
was moved to England long before I was born. It was in 1960 or 61.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the very first Pakistani who founded the Persian poetry of Allama Iqbal here in England, and this Iqbal Academy and all those things. And he used to teach English literature to English.
Okay.
And almost 40 years he spent here in England.
Mhm.
So I was, and my father, he's not only he was associated with medical, but he was also a Rumi's lover. Like the beautiful poem in the end, you said that your Zadira and all that, it moved me. Honestly,
Oh,
it really
thank
moved.
you. Thank
And I was
you.
also moved by Abdul Malik. I was moved by Pau's
Okay.
struggle. I was all
Mhm.
ears. I was listening, and I just honestly, I'm just blessing my
Mhm.
stars. But then I was just born in a family, so we used to teach Abaji. He was every time, Persian. They used to speak
Mhm.
Persian. Actually, I can also speak Persian.
Oh,
So I have.
great.
So I have right from the start used to translate Iqbal's poetry, sometimes
Mhm.
different things in Urdu and in English. Then I moved to Denmark, almost 34 years now. And
Mm.
there it was a new challenge. Hardly I
Yes.
was a teenager. It was a new challenge as if I am coming and living on Mars. Then,
Yes.
of course, I took it as a challenge and started Danish language. I got also two children. And with my children, I used to go to the school and I did my university college here from
Yeah.
Copenhagen with the four subjects like English, Danish, history of, and then nutrition. And then I was moved to America 1 year and then came back. And then right now I was moved to UK. So all this, I think this background it was very encouraging all the time. It
Yeah.
just made me, and I was very lucky to have multicultural and multilingual and religious society here in Denmark, because I worked as a multilingual interpreter. So I had a chance to meet so many people, and I think that like a child, I keep on learning. Even today, I was moved to UK and I learned a lot of things. People like you around me, and I always like people like Kesra. She
Mhm.
came to
Yeah. Oh,
Copenhagen,
she's
and
a.
honored. I was honored to host her and to launch books and all that. So I think that
Yeah.
this is the environment. I think I was more lucky than efficient and ability. This was more luck that I was born in a family.
Sadaf, there are so many questions when we just two or three, of same on the same page, just sit together. We need to ask so many questions. There are, bundle of questions in my mind right now, but time is not allowing us, and we have to move forward as well. There are so many things. Oh, do we write in a specific time? Sometimes, I don't know when somebody, doesn't travel or just sit at home in Pakistan or anywhere. Can he write something? Like how important it is to travel to see different cultures, and your knowledge is like vast, and you see so many things by yourself, and then write something is very different. I don't know, but this is a long discussion we will do sometime, maybe later on in some programs.
Sure,
But
sure.
here I think its time is like 9 minutes are just only left. So I want to thank you, Sadaf, taking time out and being with us and just sharing so thoughtful stuff, and
Pleasure is all
especially
mine. It's all mine.
Especially,
Thank you so much.
I just loved it. So that was our, like today's event, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we come to the end, the beautiful Mushaira evening. And thank you all for your wonderful presence, thoughtful poetry, and like a heartfelt participation. I must say that was heartfelt participation. Without it, it's not possible to have such a warmth, reciting, reading, and stuff. So I realize your words, all of you have a fantastic words, emotions, truly made this gathering memorable. And once again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Kaisa Shiraz for creating such a amazing platform. Huge thank to Becky's a lot, Katrina, who is just like organizing everything. So now, before we conclude, I would warmly invite Kesra Shiraz to say a few words and share her thoughts. Please, Kesra Shiraz, if you are here.
Thank you so much. What can I say? My goodness, mashallah, what a marvelous international feast of poetry, words, voices, and books. I'm just so, so proud of you guys. Absolutely so proud. Incredible poetry, such varied voices, and internationally, Sadaf, you really were delighted, honored to host you. You really have upped it.
So much.
Of course,
Thank you.
our other two writers as well. I think Katarzyna, you'll agree with me, one of the most successful, uplifting panel we've ever had. And Becky, you will agree with me too. Absolutely amazing. So this is our headline event, bringing poets of all backgrounds and languages together. And the premise for this was to share their poetry, but to do it together. And this was a living example. Two poets, male poets from different background, Muslim convert, writing in English. And then we have a Punjabi speaker. Luckily, I can understood it. I loved it. And we had Urdu speaker with Rubina, and we loved that too. So we have succeeded in that, in bringing all the voices together. And of course, Becky, as a director of poetry, will appreciate that. And I'll ask her to say a few words when I've finished. So I want to thank again Malik, Paul, Sadaf, and Rubina for your offer of a poetic feast. Thank you, Becky and Rubina, for excellent hosting, as always. And of course, my team, Katarzyna and Hajra, for hosting the tech panel at the back. And then I want to thank our audience, the attendees who gave up their Sunday afternoon on a sunny day to us from wherever they're joining us. So I'm going to see you all next week, where we have another feast from a comedian, Preacher Moss, amazing man, another Muslim convert, and from more information from Katarzyna as she finishes it off. So Becky, if you want to add something, I just think it's been an absolutely incredible panel. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely incredible panel. Everyone, Sadaf, incredible. That I can't stop thinking about that line you said. I'm just trying to find about we're all burning. I wrote it in the chat.
Yes.
A world exhausted from its own burning.
Yes.
And poetry is so important at a time that is so challenging for so many. Thank you so much. And thanks to Paul and Malik.
Back to you, Katarzyna.
Thank you, everyone. And Rubina, I just wanted to say that I absolutely love the melody of your poems in your own language. It absolutely moved me. The melody, incredible. So I just wanted to remind all artists in the audience and everybody who knows any UK-based Muslim artists that we've got the Muslim Arts Awards competition open until 15th of June. If you go to MACFEST website, you can go to the Arts Awards page and submit your artworks. And also we have a couple of events coming up, as Kesra mentioned. We're starting with Youth Celebrating World Culture Day on Thursday at 6 o'clock UK time. And then Saturday at 2 o'clock UK time, we've got comedy with Preacher Moss. And after that, on Sunday, 21st of May, we have Cultural Exchange Dialogue, Libraries Without Borders. It's going to be another very interesting discussion. So thank you, everyone. And I would just like to mention that we do accept donations through MACFEST website, big and small as £1. Thank you in advance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Salam to everybody.